All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! Mic in the room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Authors with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight, to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up, this is our song. Yeah, this is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the misfit play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. It's Aubrey right now. We're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fight, to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is vindication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home, you belong.
Woo! All right. Welcome back to the Thursday after dinner edition of the Misfit Nation. We know you have choices to go anywhere you want to go, but you choose to hang out with us here on the Misfit Nation. So thank you for being here. Quick recap last night on the Tip of the Spear podcast, along with fellow veterans from many podcasts, many leaders in the veteran advocacy world. We spoke about a case of a veteran up in Vermont, J.J. Millett. If you have not heard of him, look it up and see the ramifications of his case and how they could affect veterans across our country. Look into it. Check out what you can do maybe to advocate for JJ or advocate for change. Do your part to help a fellow veteran out. All right, everyone. Tonight we have a good one. He knows something many people don't. They talk about, but few truly experience what leadership looks like when lives are on the line. Joining us is Fire Captain Mark Andrew, author of Leading Through the Heat. He spent decades in the fire service where decisions have consequences, trust is everything, and there's no room for ego, confusion, or weak leadership. When the alarm sounds, nobody cares about buzzwords. They care about competence. They care about calm under pressure. They care about whether the leader beside them can be trusted. Mark has seen both sides of it. He's seen leaders who inspired confidence and loyalty, and he's seen leaders who lost their people the moment pressure arrived. That's why today this conversation matters, because whether you lead in the military, business, family, sports, or life, the same principles will apply. Presence over micromanagement, trust over fear, service over ego. So if you want to become a stronger leader and a better human, this episode is for you. Mark Andrew, welcome to the Misfit Nation.
Thanks for having me. This is a really fun discussion you have every week, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it.
Outstanding. Thanks. I was getting a little worried that you weren't going to make it in. I was about to text you, say, "Where are you, brother? You all right?" But
that was my operator error. I totally misread the enter screen and hit the wrong button.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it disappeared. Nice. All right. So, Mark, I gave basically the elevator pitch speech about you right there. Mm-hmm. If you don't mind, give a little bit more about Mark from as far back as you want to go to how you got into the fire service and then to how we got here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in a fire service family. My dad was a firefighter, and coincidentally for the same department I worked my career at.
Wow.
Back in the 90s, it was really competitive. You only needed a basic EMT license, and some departments would put you through an academy. Sometimes you would just go to a community college and just go get your own. And so there were lots of people that wanted to do it. The training wasn't onerous. And so we would show up at a test to take whatever civil service aptitude test, and there would be 800 to 1,000 people there. And it's certainly not like that anymore with the paramedic curriculum becoming more and more challenging. It seems like every other year that job applicant pool's whittled down. But during those times, it was very competitive. So even with my dad in the fire service, it wasn't an easy job to get. I still applied to every department for about 7 years before Dearborn called, and I would have gone anywhere, but I was so lucky that Dearborn was the first department that called and offered me a full-time gig after years of just working private ambulance and part-time fire, building up the resume.
Awesome. You got to have your career in the same house where your dad was, or mm-hmm. same department where your dad was.
Yes.
Where you probably went as a kid and slid down the pole and stuff like that. So that's
I
pretty
wish
awesome.
We had them. My city cut them all down in the 60s. Those jerks.
Ah, man.
And I'm still sore about it.
They took all the fun out. God.
Right. Oh, yeah. I'm legit been bothered by that my whole career, that our city just wrecked its entire architecture.
Wow. That's horrible. Yeah. So how many years? You did 2 decades, so 20 years at least, right, in the fire service.
I did 28 with Dearborn and about 5 in a private ambulance and 2 with a part-time fire department before I hired on at Dearborn.
Wow. Okay. So that's a long career. A lot of leaders you interacted with. So you had to have your mix of good, bad, and ugly in there.
Yes, I did.
That all comes into your writing now, I'm sure.
It really did. Where I got the idea for the book was I had always been playing around with the leadership thoughts. What makes a good company officer? What were traits of company officers that I gravitated towards? What are things I didn't want to do if I was fortunate enough to promote up? And these were thoughts I had throughout my whole career and discussing things with peers as we moved up the seniority ladder. And so they were always vibrant discussions about just leading people and how can we make this place better? How can we do the job better? How can we provide better service for the residents? And a couple of years ago, I got a GoPro camera for my helmet, and then I got invited on some fire podcasts after posting some kind of fun video of some fires we had on Instagram. And so I'm on these fire podcasts. We're talking not only fire tactics strategy, we're talking department size and the way we run things and comparing departments. And then we start talking a little bit about leadership and what my role was. And then I kind of realized I've got all these notes written. Let me see if I can compile that into some maybe essays or magazine articles. And the more I kind of broke it down, I really thought I had something. So I just knuckled down, and before I knew it, I had a few chapters. So I just hit the keyboard until I had a whole manuscript done.
Wow. And that's awesome. One of my earlier guests in the video world was a firefighter from Florida. He was a battalion fire chief down there. Great guest. I'm trying to think of his name. His name is coming to a blank to me, but he talked to him doing the same thing. As he was going through his service, he would just write notes and keep notes in his nugget. And then finally he said, I got to write this stuff out and make it happen.
Yes, absolutely. And that helped me out so much in my career, keeping that inventory of the type of boss I wanted to be. It really made a difference because I absolutely felt ready. Not that I didn't make mistakes when I got promoted to lieutenant, but I felt ready to step up.
Right. And I mean, a lot of people make those ranks just by taking tests, and they're able to move up through the test ranks. I don't know if fire service does a board of your peers or whatever to move up as well, but you take the test and you move up. If you take a test really well, you're going to move up and not really have that real leadership resume to get in there. How many guys, when you became a lieutenant, that's the first major step in the ladder, right, of leadership?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so we do junior firefighter, and then senior firefighter is another promotional rank. And then there you could drive the fire truck or be in charge of an engine if your lieutenant is on vacation. And then we've got engineer who drives the fire truck. And then after that, it's lieutenant.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I was coming up, we had everybody, I would say more than half of the people wanted to be lieutenants. We have less of that now. And
Really?
so we have a lot of people that go from senior firefighter and just pass over the engineer rank to become that lieutenant, because we're just in a generational dynamic of people that their spot in the seniority rank didn't really, or in the testing order, didn't happen till later in their career, and they decided to just remain engineers. And so we've got a lot of really smart, hardworking, younger, but senior firefighters that have promoted a little bit earlier of the curve than we've had in the past. And it has provided a different dynamic for our department, because it's actually fresh thoughts and fresh minds. And like you said, you don't want to just have hot shot, memorized test takers getting your promotions. But if you could have a system that balances experience, seniority, oral board interviews where you're challenged with scenarios on top of writing an exam, I think you could have some really well-balanced leaders come through that.
Definitely. And lieutenants, you guys are in charge of a shift or a truck, couple trucks or something like that.
In our department, if you've got say the regular station's got a ladder truck, engine, and an ambulance. The lieutenant's on the engine, the captain is on the ladder truck, and then the firefighters rotate amongst being on the ambulance or the back of either fire trucks. My station that I spent most of my or all my time as a captain at only had an engine. We did not have a ladder truck. So I did not have a lieutenant with me. It was just me, because we have one officer per fire apparatus. So that was how our department ran it.
Okay. So you're just thinking that TV and what they show in like Chicago Fire and stuff like that. How
Not terribly different from the Chicago rank structure. Yeah, we're a little bit based off of them, going all the way back to the 1920s. Our city was founded actually in 1928.
Okay. All right. And as you moved up to captain, you had your engine, and how many guys were you in charge of at that point?
8 to 10 a day.
Okay.
So 10 on a good day, 8 on most days with vacation time and sick time.
And you do like a 72 on and then 72 off or something like that?
The 72 is the cycle, but they do alternate. So it'd be 24 on, then a day off, and another 24 on, then a day off, then 24 on, and then 4 days off.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's good rotation. That
I liked it. It was a really good balance. It allowed you to catch up on some sleep on the day you're coming off shift. Still allowed you a good amount of days off at the end of that cycle to kind of recharge, spend time with family, maybe earn some money working a side job, go back to school, whatever you'd like to do. And so it's a lot of hours. It's a 56-hour work week, but it's actually about a 72-hour work week. But for the Fair Labor Standards Act, the way they do the math, it's they pay on a 56, but it was probably about 3 24-hour shifts a week. And so you get about anywhere between 9 and 11 a month.
Okay. So that's, I mean, you get used to it, I guess, after a while.
Yes. You absolutely do. I'm still trying to adjust my sleep schedule after all of that.
after stopping. Yeah.
Yes,
After hanging up your boots. Yeah,
absolutely.
sure it takes a little while to get used to it, especially as long of a career as you had, doing it both from volunteering all the way through the ambulance service and all the way through the fire service. That's a long time. It's what, 33, 35 years, 36 years almost of doing it.
Yep.
That's a long time to get your mind into that schedule, and then all of a sudden stop.
Mhm.
So,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely it is.
let's pump them brakes and maybe we'll try something else today. We'll see the
For
sunlight all
sure.
day today.
Yeah, I know, and it is an adjustment. You mind if I touch base on an episode you had a couple of months back?
Yes. Yes.
Um, uh, Military. He was officer grade named Carl, and now I'm forgetting his last name. Um,
I know you're
oh,
talking about
yeah.
Munger, I think his name's last.
Yes, I am. And he talked a lot about the adjustment that military people have to make after the military. And um, is ours in the fire service is not as stark as that. One, because ours is it's obviously it's a career paid job. You are a civilian. It's paramilitary, not military. But the mental aspect of adjusting to not having those bells go off every night in the middle of the night, at least once or twice,
Yeah.
is an adjustment. That on top of you maybe had some rank, you had some importance, and now you're without that. So there are always mental adjustments you got to make post career. And so I thought that was a wonderful conversation you had with him.
Thank you. He was fun to talk to. Also, he's a
Mhm.
good guy, and of course, he served a long time as well. And
Yeah.
his adjustment is a little different than others because I think it was 20 something years as well. Like for me, it was 22 years, and that day after I ended it, it was like, what do I do with my hands? What do I do now? And it was a little different adjustment that way from going, than just stopping. And
Yep.
and it's different for every person, but everyone has kind of that same speed bump when you stop because you're no longer doing that one thing that you've done forever. Now you have to do something new and be this new person, new dude, and do things just a little different in life to make it through. So I know
Yeah.
for you guys, it's being with that brotherhood in the house all the time and making sure knowing the people on your right and left when you go into those fires. To now you're by yourself or with a smaller group, your smaller tribe now to do things. How is that adjustment for you?
I've actually had a pretty easy time with it. And I do notice a generational shift with this in the fire service. When I came on, it was a very hard adjustment. It was a hard adjustment for that group of people because those people that hired on in the senior guys when I came on were people that hired on in the 60s. And our pension caps at 30 years. We routinely would have people staying 35, 37, 38 years,
Wow.
to the point where their pension paid more money if they would have retired.
Oh man.
But they chose to stay because of exactly what you talked about. I've got this status here. I'm an officer. The people cook whatever meals I tell them to make. They love to step up and let me delegate a lot of work. The job's relatively easy at that seniority point, unless we're really getting fires. I've got enough young people that I don't have to do all the young people work anymore. So the job was certainly easier. You went on way less medical runs back then, if any at all. And then just the status. You were an officer. You were a person. Some of it was they had depression era parents. And so finances meant something different. And they just never trusted the security of the pension. So they just stayed and said, I got to keep working. I still have kids. And once we got into the 2000s and the Vietnam era guys in the 70s started getting their 25th to 30th year on, we almost never have anybody hang on for 30 years anymore. Most of the people have worked 2 jobs. They've worked other careers. They're working as nurses. They're working as paramedics in ERs. They're roofing. They're carpenters, and they are actually physically tired and maybe a little mentally tired. So we have more people now that are looking forward to the retirement and have years to plan it ahead of time. Plus, financially, They trust our pension system. They understand stock markets. They understand investments, and we've got IRA type plans on the side on top of the pension. So people are, if you can plan it right, you can be well taken care of. You'll never be rich, but we've got way more people now that are going into retirement financially and mentally prepared for it than we used to back in the day.
Wow. I mean, that's a good thing that it's turned.
I think it is.
That's a great momentum swing for the whole career field. I know here in Tennessee, a lot of the guys here have, like you said, roofing businesses, lawn care businesses, handyman stuff, or some of them are realtors on the side in between their days off. So they have a whole hodgepodge.
3 realtors.
They have a hodgepodge of careers that they're doing all at once, and owning a business plus being a firefighter. And some of them are also, they all do home inspections. So it's for the realtor. So say a lot of things they got going on. So they take advantage of those days that they don't have to be at the house, and they can do different things. Did you ever see guys that just only did firefighting and that's all they did the whole time?
Yes, we have a few, certainly not many. Most people choose with the time off to earn a little bit of extra money here and there. I did a few labor jobs my first couple of years, and then I got into teaching EMS. And so I did that for about 20 of my 28 years.
Wow. That's a good chunk right there too.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good money. It was good to connect with the next generation of people coming into the field, and it really made me sharpen my skills as a paramedic.
And these are the people that are going to be working in the ambulance that's next to you.
Absolutely. And we coincidentally hired 2 people from the EMT class I taught.
See?
Yeah, it worked out great.
Builds that trust we were talking about earlier. And
yes, it did.
So that helps out. They trust you that you're knowledgeable at least, and
sure.
now you know that you taught them everything you are allowed to teach them in that block.
Yeah, to
make them ready for the streets. And there's a lot of things that happen in a fire, in a situation, or a car accident, whatever you guys respond to. That is very important. And the whole truck, everyone I know has basic EMS skills, but then you have to have the experts as well, right?
Absolutely. Yes, that's exactly the way it works.
That's amazing the way the house works and the way you guys all go hand in hand. And I think that's a great career field. I always wanted to be a firefighter. I was definitely afraid of fires as a kid, but I wanted to be a firefighter for some reason. I'm not sure why it was like that, but that was how my head was at that point. Then I went in the Army. So 2 different things, both dangerous, but still went that way.
For sure.
Yeah.
They're both adrenaline jobs.
Yes, exactly. 100% adrenaline junkie jobs. That's what it is. I talked earlier about how presence matters a lot in leadership. When did you first notice that as you were coming up and then became that leader?
Oh, I noticed that right away. I had a captain that stayed out in the station, helped us with stuff. He would delegate to the senior people. And he, if we made a mistake, he would notice it and would provide us guidance in correcting it. And then I had other bosses that hole away in their office all day, would legitimately hop on a pickup truck and go say, I got a meeting at headquarters. I got to go run some errands. And just not only mentally we're checking out, we're physically not present. Wow. On top of just the when you're on the senior rig, you might not be doing the medical runs. So you're going on a lot less calls. It is a temptation to go hang out in the recliner all day and watch cable TV. And I had some officers that just took advantage of that. And I always noticed when something would go wrong and they would say, what are you doing it this way for?
Yeah.
I only out of respect for their rank would not say, we've been doing it this way for a year. Where have you been?
Right.
No, of course I knew the answer right away. He was never here to see the way we did it. If he wanted us to do it a different way, he had 12 months of opportunities to provide some guidance. And so I noticed it right away that I wanted a leader that, without micromanaging, was present and aware of what was going on.
And that's a two polar opposites there, the guys that are hiding and then the guys that are on you and making sure that they're part of the team really. Because
Sure.
your first captain you said wanted to be there and see everything that was going on and
Yeah.
give that counseling, basically that mentorship as you guys were doing things to make sure that you knew what you did wrong or what you were doing right. And that way you keep that up here and you move forward. And
Yeah.
then of course you had the guys that were completely checked out, and I don't want to they call them lazy, but that's kind of what it sounds like. But they're out there not helping at all, and they're not there when you guys probably really needed them the most in the house.
Yeah, and yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to say somebody is intrinsically lazy. However, sometimes it's just they made assumptions that other people are handling it, or they enjoyed the fact that they could delegate. Some had really talented senior firefighters and engineers that you could delegate to, and you could completely trust them. And so they just fell into this sense of security of, well, everything's being handled, so I'm just going to go back here and hang out in my little world, and they'll tell me when dinner's ready. And I don't know if that correlates to the military. If you're in a company and you got a a corporal and a sergeant or your senior people and they're doing the day to day, how often does that second or first lieutenant have to get involved? But I know in the fire service, I liked it when there was a balance between knowing when to delegate, but also being involved, because I saw it translate to emergency scenes too. When the people that were involved now were part of the team when it mattered, not just for duties around the station.
See, for us, the lieutenant, when we're not in the woods or not in war, they're handling all the admin stuff. They do all the administration stuff, handle the company commander and stuff like that. While the NCOs do all the leading, the training, and such like that. The LT will come out when he's not tied up with that stuff,
Mhm.
and then when we go to the field, we flip it. So now the lieutenant will lead in the field, and the platoon sergeant now is in charge of logistics, beans and bullets, and making sure the men and women have everything they need. So it just kind of flips a little bit, but they kind of work coincide right now alongside each other, but in different hats on each side of the fence.
Mhm. Yeah, and to that point, that's the best part about being a present manager is if you're managing a team, and this could be in a corporate world, this could be at a factory, or it could be first responder or military. When you've trained enough and delegated at the right times to build up teams. For us, I've got that senior firefighter or that engineer. For you, you had uh, a corporal and a sergeant, or the NCOs. Um, if they were built up enough, then that boss can, with a clear conscience, say, you know what, I got a bunch of admin stuff I got to do. I'm going to be gone all day. Can I trust you to handle this? And then they could say yes. And then now you could leave because you've got a team that's been built up and has earned that trust. So it's a two-sided thing. You don't want to micromanage,
Right.
but you don't want to just leave forever. So how do you find that balance? And that was something that took work on my part when I first got promoted to lieutenant. I had to find that balance.
Yeah, you got to find that happy medium, basically,
Yep.
and learn where you get in, where you fit in at that point, especially as you're the new leader. They might have known you as the firefighter or the engineer, and now you're a leader. Are you the same guy as a leader
Yes.
as you were when you were just hanging out with them? And
Oh my God, that is an entire chapter in my book.
See?
Is that very
Right.
specific topic? And that's what's different about the military and us is there's such a baked in trust to military academy training and officer candidate school that when a second lieutenant comes to a company, it's salute, hello, lieutenant, good morning, lieutenant. And there's an automatic baked in respect in the fire service in a medium sized to large sized department like we have. Now, once again, I'm not New York or Chicago where we got 2,000, 3,000 people, or New York's got actually got 10,000, where you could actually only know a tenth of your department.
Right.
In my department, everybody knows everybody. So you're 100% right. When I got promoted to lieutenant, they knew exactly who I was. because I had already, hopefully, in my mind, I had been laying the groundwork of doing good work years before that. And nothing goes over more like a lead balloon than you're the guy never pulling their weight. Your ambulance is never stocked. You're always late. Your uniform looks crappy. You're never participating in training. You always got a problem with your mask at every fire. But then you write a good score on the lieutenant test and you show up on day one. All right, you drop it, give me 20. I want you to shine that badge. You tuck in that shirt. Yeah, you can't just turn it on like that.
Right. You got to be able to show those signs of leadership prior and
Years
be there with your brothers before it is. You have to be there for your brothers.
Yes.
So be there at all times. And I'm sure that's an adjustment for like us when you make in the early days when I was in the Army, when you made sergeant, they moved you to a different company.
Mhm.
That way you weren't leading the same people you were just
Yep.
drinking with in the barracks.
We tried to do that. Sometimes it just isn't logistically possible. We have 5 fire stations and 3 crews. So there's really only 15 slots to put people. So every once in a while somebody promotes and there's just no other choice but to leave them on the same crew. But for the most part, we do try to transfer them.
And that's probably the better thing to do, but it's even better if you can promote through the ranks and still have that camaraderie and brotherhood as you become the leader and they're still coming behind you. And they'll be there someday too, if they have that drive to become a leader as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That camaraderie is a perfect word for it because we see that in the fire service because it's not only we're training together, our social time can be together if we want. In the fire service, we just call it the kitchen table because we're going to have a lunch and a dinner every single day. Everybody eats together. Now, as an officer, I chose to leave the TV lounge for the men and women of the department. Tried to not go in there, unless it was the Super Bowl, then we could all hang together. But for the most part, that was their room and that was their space to not have the boss hanging out with them. But our meals are all together as a group. In the morning, if people are going to grab some coffees, we're all hanging out at the table, going over emails, going over the day, and we do that together as a team. So we have lots of opportunities to socially or in a more informal basis hang out. And so the camaraderie is a real thing where we're at once again, but we're paramilitary.
Right. It's still it's a service where you have your lives are on the line because of and you have to be with each other all times to make sure that you save each other and make sure everyone comes home from every event. And you guys can have 3 or 4 events a day. And that's putting it lightly.
Yeah.
And I don't know how busy Dearborn is. I looked up some of the historical fires there. I've seen the Forts and Cleaners, historic home fire, Ford Field Park, brush fires and stuff like that. But that Forts and Cleaners fire, it seemed like that's the biggest one on there. Were you involved with that one at all?
I was not. The lieutenant in the red helmet, wonderful officer. Steve Buckles is his name. And me and him hired on this same year. And just one of the best firefighters I've ever seen come through there. He was an airport firefighter before he came to us. So he had a really wide array of skills. And so we got promoted to officer about the same time. And we're looking at schedules and looking at station assignments as we're both brand new lieutenants. And we decided to trade lieutenant assignments. So we put in some transfer paperwork. I took his spot at this station. He took my spot at this other station. And 2 days after that Forts and Cleaner fire happened. So that would have been my assignment had I not transferred. But lucky for that crew, this heads up guy, he knew exactly how to get to that ledge, hold on to it, and then make sure that he's there as a brace for his men to hold on to, and then got on the radio, made a mayday call. It was a hairy situation, but one of the gentlemen on that roof is actually our administrator head fire chief right now.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, good for him.
That's pretty quick 14 years ago to become the head fire
chief. He had a great resume, and the mayor made him our fire chief, and we are one of the bigger departments in the state of Michigan, and probably one of the best funded departments in the state of Michigan.
That's outstanding. That is amazing. You don't usually hear that best funded and biggest in the same one of the biggest and
No.
best funded.
Yeah, I want to say we're probably the 4th largest department in our state.
Okay.
Maybe the 3rd, but I think it's the 4th.
Wow.
Obviously, Detroit being the big boy in the state.
Right. Obviously, yeah, definitely the biggest one. The one everyone knows about. Dearborn's usually, oh, that's that other place.
Yeah, we're right on their border, so they surround us on 3 edges.
Right. We got a few questions in the audience here. This one is from part of our Tuesday crew, Cagney or Steven. He wants to know, what is your outtake, or I guess your take on the TV shows about fire departments?
My take is I'm glad they're there. I love the fact that our stories get a chance to be told. I hope it's inspirational for people to enter the fire service or to look at being a first responder, because it's really a great career. I just am not naturally a big fan of them. A lot of TV shows for me just come across as really long, drawn out, just 24 arc soap operas that I just don't always gravitate towards.
Right.
That on top of, I think it's just hard in any field to watch a show of what you're doing, because they have to Hollywood it up. They got to cut some corners. They got to make it exciting. And so some of the stories I'm sure are very, very real, but it wasn't always something that resonated with me. But I do have to make one minor exception. And it was when I was a child. There was a show called Emergency, or just Emergency 51. That one is kind of holds up. The gear's a little dated. The fires are just a little flashy without a lot of smoke and heat. But just the mundane nature of going on medical runs and dealing with nurses at hospitals and dealing with emergent patients and then dealing with a bunch of just routine medical emergencies all day, and then getting the occasional fire or rollover. That one kind of got me interested in the fire service as a young child.
Yeah, I think me and him used to watch that Emergency. I think it was on Saturday nights by us. We watched it on Saturday nights with our dad. And we sit on the floor and watch it. So that's one of my favorite shows growing up. That, then Ships, of course. But. Next question is from Hell You Ain't. Mark, what's the biggest mistake leaders make when the pressure hits? Thank you.
Big topic in my book is that question. And I always thought it was hesitancy or unwillingness to make a decision. In fact, I'd lead the book with a story about that. Do you mind if I tell the story very quickly?
Tell the story.
All right. We're at a semi-truck fire, and it's going. We think it's just going to be the cab or the engine, and it's really spreading, and it's on the freeway. So we get there and got a new lieutenant, and part of it's his fault, but part of it is he was a hesitant person in general, but he had been kind of beaten down. We had some leadership back in the time that were micromanagers, and they led people through browbeating. And so we didn't build up a lot of leaders back in those days. And well, some of the chiefs did, but the one particular chief we had was not that. So this lieutenant was hesitant, and this truck is going. So the engineer, who is a really, really good firefighter and just was not a lieutenant yet, but everybody was rooting for him. He says to the lieutenant, "Hey, our tank water is not going to put out this amount of BTUs. We're going to need more water. Do you want to call the ambulance crew from our station? They could be here in a minute, and they could help us run some hose up the hill, because I think that business way up there has got a hydrant. Or we call another fire truck over, and they could just give us their 500 gallons. Or I could hit it with my tank water right now, and then we could just drive up the hill to the hydrant and drive right back and do it again." And the lieutenant says, "Yeah, just a second." And he pulls out his old flip phone. He says, "I'm going to call the chief." And this engineer grabs the phone and says, "Listen, I don't want you to make a flipping phone call. I want you to handle it." And I stood there as this officer froze. And those words, "I want you to handle it," meant so much to me as a young, impressionable firefighter. And I just right there in the moment said, I want to be the type of boss that can handle something, that doesn't have to make his crew wait as we're watching property get destroyed because I'm afraid to make a decision.
Right.
And he gave him 3 perfectly good options, and he would have worked. And if they didn't work, nobody would have cared. Just go to the next option. And if that doesn't work, we'll reset and we'll try it again.
Right.
But not making a decision just made us stand there for 3 to 4 minutes doing nothing. And that hesitancy I've seen way too many times hamper leaders going forward because now they don't have the trust of their crew.
Right. They lose the whole trust. They lose everything at that point because now they
It's
don't
so hard to get back.
They don't want to make a decision. It could be risk aversion, or it could be, I don't want to lose my career if I make a mistake.
Yeah.
Get somebody hurt or do something, or something doesn't work perfectly. And you can't think like that when you're in a high risk job like a firefighter.
Absolutely not.
Or police officer or military. You have to make those decisions and live with them.
Yes.
And that's your job, is to make those split second. You don't have minutes or hours. You have split seconds to make decisions that can mean life or death for someone that's on the other side of that wall of fire.
Absolutely. And I would assume it's the same if you're in the military on an operation. Make the best decision with the information you have.
Yep.
And if it doesn't work out, we're going to adjust and do something different. And then back in the office, in confidence, praise in public, punish in private, you're going to have a captain who's going to tell that lieutenant, all right, tell me what happened. All right, where are we going to get better? How are we going to improve this? And he's going to talk to the lieutenant in private. And then that lieutenant's going to talk to the sergeant and say, all right, here's how we're going to build our team up to be better next time. You don't have to be afraid. Nothing horrible is going to happen. At best, we're going to have some training. Just make a decision.
Learn that lesson on the fly. You might hit a home run and get it right the first time. And you might strike out the first time or go down swinging, but at least you're swinging. And you're not sitting there saying, what should I do? Or taking out, like you said, the flip phone and phoning a friend saying, please, daddy, can I do this?
Yep.
You can't do that in combat. You can't do that in fighting a fire or entering a situation, any emergency situation. You have to step forward. So yeah, definitely. That's a great point. Great story too. The next question comes from, I guess he's an Oklahoma fan. So it's a Boomer Sooner 56. How do you earn trust quickly in high stakes environments? I think that kind of just answered that. But
yeah. And not only being decisive, but if you could have a track record of decisions actually working and having positive outcomes, that built a lot of trust for me. And so I had a couple of fires when I was a new lieutenant, and I made a few strategic and tactical calls, and we got people in the right place. We got some people evacuated. We got this fire put out. We had secondary apparatus arriving, know what the roles are going to be when they arrived, and that worked well. We had another fire, and then we find a big hole in the floor. So we make the right priority calls to the chain of command. So we could block this off. We get the right supplies in to put a ladder over the hole. We were able to locate the seat of the fire and then also found a victim. So we get the right radio calls. We were able to extricate a victim, get crews to re-enter through the side because now the fire, because of the hole in the floor, is cut off from us. And those types of just calm communications and then having positive outcomes led people to trust the decisions I was going to make. And not that, like you said, not that all decisions were going to be great, but if we were at a scene, and a lot of the times it's SOPs, and they generally through training know what they're doing before we get there. But every once in a while, if I had to say, hey, you go here, you do this, you do that, they would just go, yes, Lieutenant, yes, Cap. And they would just go do it. And because they trusted that this decision is statistically gonna work out. And on top of that, it mirrored the training we had weeks to months to years before that incident. So the training was real life. And so it applied to what we were doing the way we do it for real. So it all just kind of reinforced that decision tree. Once you get to a scene, it backs up the years of work and groundwork you've laid before that.
Definitely, 100%. And the Misfit Nation comes from my platoon in Kandahar, Afghanistan, called the Misfits. And one of the first days I met them, the base had just got attacked and a sleeping tent was on fire, coincidentally. And that's where I met them, in the fire. every one of them running into the fire to try to help their brothers from another unit to try to save their stuff, salvage their stuff, and make sure everyone got out. And we all just ran in. That's how we first really met without knowing we were meeting each other. And just seeing everyone under fire and making those decisions to put something else above yourself, someone else's things above yourself, and that selflessness, it made us bond as a better platoon. And a lot of things happened along the way after that, but that was our start right there. And I believe that forged us into what we became.
Yeah, like we said, you get emergent scenes like that where the team performs well under pressure. Man, that bond can last for years.
Yeah.
And I've seen through some poor bosses, and it could even be in prior careers. Situation comes up, the leadership's terrible. We're guessing on what to do. It affects the whole operation. Things don't go right. Now management's upset, so they're getting people written up, and this guy's mad he's written up versus the other guy, and it all stems from the top. If you had proper leadership from the top, you could have successful scenes and forge those bonds. But when you have scenes that constantly fail and fingers start pointing, you lose that ability to bond.
You definitely lose that competitive edge as a unit at that point, because now you don't have that bond, the network within each other, the tentacles that keep each other together. And it's really a joy to have that. And when you don't have it, it really sucks, to put it plainly. The next question is from someone that likes, I guess, peanut butter, but jam and jelly. What's the difference between authority and leadership? Thank you, Jam and Jelly.
Well, Jam and Jelly is certainly a person from my heart. Authority and leadership. For me, it was the leadership was something deeper and a little bit more intrinsic than just the authority. Because once I got promoted to lieutenant, I could have just, if I wanted, like I said, I can go hang out in the recliner and tell the senior firefighter, hey, go train the rookie. Hey, go figure out a training exercise and run everybody through it. I could say, hey, I got to do all of these reports. So I'm just going to give you my password. Can you just QC my reports? And this way you're learning how to do it too. Wink, wink. And then I could just do nothing. And he would say, sir, yes, sir, and do it because I have that authority. But if I'm leading that training, or if I'm busy and I delegate the training to him, I'm now providing him an opportunity to be his own leader. And so now we're on two different facets, developing leadership skills and trust. To me, I found that to be way more inspiring because I'm building a team up. And I was lucky that I worked with so many junior firefighters, senior firefighters, and engineers that are now incredible lieutenants and captains because we were just on teams that we all had each other's back. We all cared about the development of the people underneath us. And so there was such a common bond to wanting to build people up that everybody bought into the program in most cases, that we're going to train with a purpose, and we're going to train in reality, and we're going to not overtrain when you're buried on 20 medical calls today. We're going to be caring and empathetic, and we're going to make sure that we build a team that people want to come and work for. So to me, the leadership was way deeper than just having the authority of your rank.
That's exactly correct right there. You have to have that. And rank doesn't always mean knowledge. Rank doesn't always mean leader. I think we went through that earlier. You have to have that respect amongst your crew, your team, in order to have that authority and respect of that. Otherwise, they're just doing it because of the rank, and it's not really a good feeling just to say, all right, we're going to do it because he said to, not because he knows what he's doing. And this is from Celebriana 38. How can someone transition from a strong worker into that strong leader? Thank you, Celebriana.
For me, it was just being the strong worker was number one on the list. If you're a good worker, You're learning your skills. You're a team player. You've got your partner's back. You are good and you know your equipment. You're good and you know your skills and tactics. Uh, that made the biggest difference for me, because then once you become that boss, they know you've got the groundwork of knowledge of what they do. Having a boss that hasn't been training, doesn't know these equipment, doesn't know the developments in the industry, let the job pass them by and is staying in the past, has a very hard time being a leader, because things change, equipment changes, tactics change, strategy changes, EMS protocols change, medical standards change. So if you're not keeping up with that and being a strong worker the entirety of your career, it's nearly impossible to just come in and flip a switch. On top of that, yes, there's probably in any industry going to be management training you can go to, officer training, command level training, and the fire service is a popular one. And so there's all kinds of classes you could take to beef that up, but they all have to start with the groundwork of being a good worker and a good teammate before that.
Definitely. And that's very important there. Being a teammate and then getting that teamwork going is very important. And last question, I think this popped in here. Testament LT. What leadership habit should people start today?
For me, it was care about your people.
Nice.
And this is a topic I've seen on a lot of leadership podcasts, whether it's corporate, whether it's military, or whether it's first responder. It's such a misnomer in old school management, the old 70s, 80s era management style, that empathy is a weakness. Yep. Nothing could be further from the truth. You care about your people. And that's how you could build the best teams. Because if you truly, truly care about them, you not only care that their careers are safe and they're physically safe on the job, you care that their careers can promote up and they're provided opportunities to learn. Not only that, some people mistakenly think that caring means protecting a buddy or letting them off the hook if something goes wrong. It's the actual opposite. When you truly care about a worker and their development, holding them accountable is the best thing you could do. I've seen so many workers positively respond to a boss telling them in private, "Hey man, what's going on? You're not yourself lately. I've noticed a couple of mistakes. I wanted to bring you in private. Tell me what's going on, because I know this isn't you. You're better than this." Yeah. And that care to want to get to some of those root causes, I think is huge. In fact, I found 99% of the time there's poor performance on the job. It's a distraction to them. It's not an innate issue of their skill on the job. Most of the time it's a distraction. And if you care enough about a leader, you can provide them support to help eliminate that distraction. Whether it's, I can grant them some time off if they got a family emergency. I could provide them some training if there's a segment of the job they're delinquent in. If they're dealing with a medical emergency themselves, maybe we can get them some extended sick leave, whatever it might be. I now, because I cared enough to learn, I can be their advocate with the administration.
Definitely. And a lot of that comes from, like we were talking about earlier, what you see as you start. What you see is the model of the leader as you start. Like your first captain was the model of a leader for you. And you've seen what good looks like and how you wanted to be as you went up through the ranks. Sometimes people don't absorb that, and they miss that key lesson as they're a young firefighter or a young soldier or young anything in life, any corporate ladder. They miss that key lesson because they're so deep into getting into the career that they don't really realize the lesson they're learning. And for you still remember that first captain because he left a mark on you by how he treated you in your house and how he taught you what right looks like as a leader to push you forward, being present, being that leader that mentored and didn't just just yell at you for doing things wrong, took you aside and mentored you and how to do things better the next time. And a lot of times, even now, it's a lot worse now with leadership that people forget to do those little nuances and have that, like you said, empathy. People used to say I had no empathy because I grew up as a 90s NCO, and I learned a lot of bad habits from those guys like you had from the Vietnam era or just after, who were leaders when I came in, and everything from them was hard charge, do this, do this, do this, do this, or don't live. And that's the way we learned. And I kind of took a lot of that, and then I started learning good habits, and I switched up a lot, and I changed. I'd probably do a whole 180 in my leadership style along the way to being a much better leader towards the tail end of my career. And if you ask people from the beginning when I was a leader to when I was in, they'd think they had two different leaders completely, because I learned so many lessons along the way. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of guys do that as well.
Yes, and yeah, I made it. I had some growing pains when I first became a lieutenant as well. So I made some mistakes, and I think I learned from them and got better. But that's the key is, yeah, if you're not learning and getting better, then just get out of the way.
Exactly. Move and get out of the way right there. That's exactly how we have to do it. There's a question I wanted to ask you. This is one that I know as firefighters, you guys go into a lot of very stressful situations, a lot of deep problems. What's one leadership challenge you had during an extreme situation, maybe at a fire or an accident, that really made you take a step back and say, is this the right decision, but I'm doing it anyway?
I did have one and now I didn't have that thought in the moment, but I had to reflect and wonder if
Yeah.
and if I had that. We had a fire in my last year, uh, and I got it on Instagram on my helmet cam. We get there and there's smoke coming out the upper floors of this house. The dispatcher told us the 911 caller was the neighbor, and they watched the homeowner walk through the front door about 20 minutes ago. Nobody has seen him come out yet. And now we obviously have a working house fire. Everything looks like it's upstairs. We look through the front window. We could see fire up a little bit in the hallway and going up the stairs. And then we got a ton of black smoke coming out of the two upper windows and the eaves of the roof. And so I talked to my partner, and I love doing this. Go to your junior partner and just say, I'm seeing this. What are you seeing? And he goes, yeah, I'm seeing the same thing. I said, great. I'll meet you at the front door. I'm going to finish my walk around. So I walk around the house. Everything confirms what we thought. We get a crew to force the door. Now there's a little bit of fire in the living room. And I asked the police officer who was there. I said, anybody seen the occupant? And they said, no. The neighbor saw him walk in. We haven't seen him walk out. All right. So I'm going to search this living room while my partner hits the fire. And then hopefully we can make our way up those stairs, knock that fire down, and eventually get upstairs and knock that fire down. But it's going to be a little bit of work. But I'm going to at least get a search of this first room here. And so we get in, I start searching, and that fire on the back wall just lights up all orange. And I said, ow, 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 ow. And he said, all right, it's getting blacker. And so he's hitting it. I said, yeah, we're going to have to bail. It's not working. And it was about that fast. We were in there a total of 38 seconds just because my helmet cam's got a timer on it. And so I had already been searching. I searched the couch. I said, yeah, it's not working. We got to go. And now the black smoke is banking down on us. And then the black smoke turns orange. But because of our training, we knew our tactics should be, you could perform a hand search pattern along a wall, but don't commit yourself too deep to the room until you know you've got some fire control. So we had the door 3 feet behind us. And then I'm searching off to the right a little bit. My partner's hitting it with the hose, and that hose is not putting out this amount of BTUs. And so we go to bail out. We're really close to the door, and it's getting hotter. It's really singeing, and we just belly flop out on the porch. I call command, tell them we had to bail out. We're going to hit it from the porch. And my partner just pops right up, takes a knee, and just sticks the hose back in the living room, and he darkens it down from the safety of the porch. I'm radioing in. We couldn't find the victim. We got pushed out. And so we wait a few minutes. We knock it down. We go back in. We perform a search. Don't find the guy. We bring another hose line in. We knock down 2 more rooms that are going. And then afterwards, we figured this all out. The owner was not there. There was a gas can in the backyard that we didn't see. It was over by the garage, not by the house. And it looks like the homeowner lit the fire with gas and then bailed out the window, which is why he wasn't seen. So that makes sense. This wasn't just paint and furniture and carpet burning. This was liquid gasoline that absolutely took off once we introduced the air. So that's why the BTUs were so high. So now, and this is where it's a good thing in the fire service, and I know the military is this way, we're really good on after action reports.
Yes.
We'd love to sit down afterwards and hold a real in-depth critique of what happened, what are the lessons learned, what are things we could do better next time, is there anything we could have done different to this time? So I did have to have some deep reflection. Should we have gone in? Should I have vented a side window before we went in? Should we have searched the backyard better to see if there's any incendiary materials? And after talking with a ton of different officers, reviewing the footage, we agreed, no, this was just one of those freak things that we, from the size up, could not have known. And thankfully, our gear and our tactics did what they did and protected us. I left with some second-degree burns on my ears and neck, but that is totally fine. It is what the gear is meant to do. But we did learn afterwards it was a legitimate flashover because there were parts of our SCBA bottles and harnesses that were melted off the clips. And so the manufacturer could tell us what the melt points are. So we knew this was the real deal. But thankfully, our tactics were sound. We knew how to bail out. And then we legitimately were now able to do those after action reports and have that introspective talk amongst ourselves.
That's amazing. And that shows your training and your trust in your partner as you did all this.
His name's Dan. Solid guy.
That's outstanding. It's like I was there listening to the story. Well, I'm sitting on a camera watching. And then I was thinking, when you said on your Instagram camera, on your helmet cam, when you first started the service, there was no cameras like that, especially. Yes,
absolutely.
You adapted to the times, so that's pretty awesome to adapt to the times and not just be that old captain. You were ahead of the times there as a captain, so that's awesome to do that. You don't see a lot of guys adapt to.
Yes, in fact, those helmet cams is one of the best adaptations of modern firefighting that we've seen. Both helmet cams, cell phone video, Instagram, and YouTube. Whether it's a bunch of fire pages that just grab neighbors' cell phone videos of house fires, or it's firefighters with helmet cams that just post it. The city of Stockton, California, actually allows all their members to wear helmet cams.
Wow.
And they put it on the fire department's own YouTube channel, and they get a ton of fires over there. And so they actually use it as a training and recruitment tool. Rather than tell their members, hey, keep this on the down low, they embrace it. And when you read those comment sections on any of these fire pages, it's such a vibrant talk on tactics and strategy now that we never had before, because how many people had a VHS camcorder back in the day? So you didn't have a lot of fire video. Now, every fire, every single day, anywhere in the country, there's going to be 2 people on the sidewalk filming it. And so we've got so much data now to actually review to make ourselves better.
You said 2. It's at least 2 people be out there.
Yeah, sometimes 20.
70. And then whatever house across the street will have a Ring camera or something filming it as well. So you can find nearly anything out there on video.
Mm-hmm.
This is this world we live in now. I mean, right now we're both on video doing this, and 10 years ago we wouldn't have been doing this. So we both adapted as older guys now to do these things.
Yep.
So we've learned a lot about you and about your service, and it's an amazing story, outstanding. Tell us a little about where the audience can find your book.
Yeah. It's called Leading Through the Heat. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's not in any bookstores yet, but if I can generate enough sales, maybe I can get a bookstore to carry it. So it's an online purchase now. It's in hardcover, and it is in Kindle. It is there. I had so much fun doing the project. And more than that, I've had so much fun meeting people like yourself and just talking about leading people, making workplaces better.
And that's your picture on the book,
Yes,
right?
that was a thing that I insisted with the publisher because they said, "Hey, we got lots of rights-free fire pictures. We can get you a picture for free." I said, "No, it's got to be me.
Right.
I will buy the rights to the photo." And this was a photo. I'm the one holding the axe, and it's an absolute photo of me. The photo on the back is me. I wanted this to be me because that's a thing I liked about when you talked about trust in the fire service or
Right.
trust on your crew. Me being here, holding that axe, chopping the hole while my partner's getting the chainsaw ready
Right.
was the type of officer I wanted to be. The person who they would know I'll never ask them to do anything I'm not willing to do myself. And I'll never ask them to go anywhere I'm not willing to go myself. And I've had that with other officers. Their coat open, helmet kind of tilted up. It's in there, guys. I wanted to be the guy in the firefight with the men and women of the department. And so I wanted the reader to know that also.
That's awesome. As soon as I saw the pictures I was able to pick from for you for the cover for our show, and I've seen this. That's the same picture. Look at there. It blends in. That's awesome that you and the fact that you have all these pictures. And like
we are very lucky. Actually, surprisingly, this didn't come from our department, our labor union. We pay a freelance photographer to follow us, and he's got a scanner or an actual radio, and we pay him a stipend, and so we get shared rights of his artwork for any of our union business or public relations campaigns, and that he is free to sell them to newspapers and magazines as a freelance photographer.
Wow.
And so that because we just don't have a local newspaper industry here in the suburbs anymore.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's good to have you, especially as the labor union guy, to have evidence of everything you guys do well when it comes time to any arguments that you have as far as a union.
Yes. Absolutely. It makes a difference when you got to go ask your residents for a millage.
Right. That's awesome. That's a great asset to have at that point. All right. Since you've watched some of our shows, you know what happens next. We've already asked you where to find your book and best places. I've been sharing your Twitter and your Instagram throughout the show. I've been sharing it in the comments and across the bottom. Our last question of you will be, what's 3 things the Misfit Nation can start doing tomorrow to be better people?
I would say keep doing what you're doing, because I know you're one of the leaders in this discussion of health, wellness, mental health in being a first responder or a military veteran. And I have found in the fire service, now I don't know what it's like in the military, but the people that have good bosses coming up, they have jobs where they're empowered, they're valued, they're trained, they're given a stake in the operation. They could see the benefit of the leadership. They could see the benefit on the young people coming up. They feel like they're part of a team. That creates a workplace people want to go to. It's the micromanaging bosses, the browbeaters that beat people down. That's what leads at least in the fire service to the people that are dealing with mental health issues and stress. You've many times you want to tackle mental health in the first responder. Look at your leadership, and look at your administration. Are they empowering people, or are they just micromanaging and writing people up with every little mistake?
Yep, 100%. We definitely try to do that as best as possible here to promote that mental health, to promote physical health as well. Because a lot of us, we kind of, especially when we get out, we let that go, and then you got to fight. It's a lot harder to fight when you're older to get that stuff back, but you got to have that grit inside you, the resilience to come back and do it again, and then realize that you are who you were before. You just got to keep fighting for it, and it's awesome that you guys have this, and mental health is a big problem across all first responders, military, across our whole country right now. We have a lot of mental health issues, and I think we all need to dive in together and fight that whole problem. But Mark, thank you for hanging out tonight. Of course, a late night show. Of course, it's great to have you on here. But I know your hours are all wonky anyway from your years of service. So you're good.
I never sleep good anyway. I've just came to terms with it.
Yeah, it'll never end. Don't worry.
Yep.
So thank you for hanging out with us tonight and sharing your story and sharing your book. It's great to have you on. A great story. Later, Misfit Nation, get out there and check out the book. Mark Andrew, he's the author of Leading Through the Heat. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and he's a great guy to have on your show if you have a show out there.
Well, thank you for that.
Misfit Nation, remember, as we always say at the end of the show, a day tomorrow with you is 100% better than one without you. Don't hesitate to reach out to your circle and ask for help. Call 988. If you're a veteran, the option is 1. You don't have to take that. You can just wait for an operator. They will talk to you. Get the help you need. If you don't want to do that, and you don't want to tell your friends, your 3 names that are in your wallet, reach out to us here at the Misfit Nation. info@themisfitnation.com, Steven@themisfitnation.com, or Jake@themisfitnation.com. Whichever one of us answers it first, we'll keep you on the phone once we call you until someone else can get there to you that's local to you. So we know that you're safe and that you'll be with us tomorrow and the next day. Just keep in the good fight. Don't let the darkness take you over. Till next time, Misfit Nation, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.